Record. Here we are. It's Awaken Wednesday. I'm glad you're here. We are continuing our conversation about mantras. And we had a nice question from Sarah, and she wants to know about mantras for sleep. I'm going to talk about that, and I'm going to talk about other mantras and we had another question about thinking critically. I don't even know if we can do that, but I will share what I've been doing lately, especially when I start to beat myself up or others in my mind. But before we begin any of that, let's take a mindful moment. Any particular technique that you might use to bring your attention right here, right now. And I like to close my eyes. Invite you to do the same unless you're operating heavy machinery. Just closing your eyes and giving yourself some slow, long, deep breaths. Ideally, in and out through your nose if you can. Breathing in slowly and deeply, and exhaling slowly and fully. And on your next exhale, invite your body to soften and relax as you allow your breath to return to its natural rhythm and depth. Letting your body become more relaxed. There's often a certain level of holding or contraction that we have as we brace ourselves in our lives. And maybe you don't need to brace yourself right now. Maybe you can soften your face and lower your shoulders. Maybe you can let go of any tension in your belly and your hips. Let your body be soft as you welcome everything your sensory apparatus is bringing in. Sounds and sensations, sights and scents. And even the flavors in your mouth. Arriving right here in this moment. If you'd like to open your eyes, you can if they were closed. And here we are. This is it. So first I want to talk a little bit about that frequently quoted statement. We're just spiritual beings having a human experience, right? You've heard this all before, and often you go, yeah, I've heard that before. Bumper stickers and mottos like this. But what's that really mean? What does that really mean? And as we've been talking about mantras, instruments for the mind that help you to transcend the relative human experience of preferences and likes and dislikes and judgments and egos and the I, me, mine stuff and the divisiveness. Mantras used in meditation can help us to transcend that human experience and dive into this field of love where, the mind is not getting too engaged. There's not a lot of us or thems. There's not a lot of pain or suffering. There's just simply being. It's a big relief. That's why we like to sleep, because it's very similar to sleep, this diving into the gap. Diving into the transcendent is very similar to sleep, where we lose track of time and space. We lose track of who's around us and where we are. We lose track of just about all of our to-do lists. And we get to unplug, clear the cache. One of the most nourishing and number one ways to reduce stress is sleep. And meditation is right up there because it allows the whole nervous system to settle down and helps the whole nervous system to recalibrate, normalize the hormones that have been maybe activated through the fight or flight response. and it helps you to be more of who you really are, the qualities of which might be peaceful, clear, loving, forgiving, compassionate, maybe intelligent, um, witnessing everything without getting too reactive, more responsive. So meditation as well as sleep helps us to dive into that unplugged space, right? But we had a question earlier about using mantras for sleep versus mantras for meditation. Now, the mantras we've been doing up until this point, and mantras aren't mottos, they're not the affirmations we've been talking about, they're not prayers. Mantras in the way I'm talking about them simply are instruments for the mind and or vehicles. It's also translated loosely as a vehicle for the mind. I like to use the analogy of it's a vehicle where I get into when I want to get to the island of peace, through meditation. So for those of you who want to sleep and find yourself having difficulty sleeping, I want to address that. Quite often, being unable to sleep is caused by having too much stress. It interrupts the natural mind-body connection and the natural flow of the ways in which we harmonize with nature. And so sleep quite often can be interrupted because of stress. So of course, it is the number one way to reduce stress. So this makes it kind of confusing. But one thing about meditation is it helps us to downshift, helps us to normalize our hormones, especially the ones that keep us activated, like the adrenaline and the cortisol, and helps us to relax, really and truly relax. If we measured your nervous system through objective measures when you're meditating, we would find your heart rate slowing down and normalizing. We would find your breath normalizing. Your skin resistance would change. And also, all of your hormones would start to balance out objectively, whether you think you're doing it right or not. One reason some people can't sleep is they meditate too close to bedtime. Meditation, meaning the type of meditation where you transcend the relative and you dive into that pure awareness. The difference between transcending in meditation and transcending in sleep, because they're both transcendental experiences, is that in meditation, you don't check out. You're fully present. There may be I like to use these hand gestures. So with meditation, it's like you're using a focused attention, your attention on a mantra over and over again, paying attention, paying attention, paying attention. And eventually what happens is you lose track of the mantra, you lose track of your breath if you're doing it in conjunction with that. And your awareness expands and expands so that there's no longer a sense of time or space or mantra or self. And then all of a sudden you might have the thought, what time is it? And your attention comes back to a little more of a beam of attention rather than expanded awareness. So with meditation, we kind of go back and forth from focused attention to expanded awareness, especially when we're using mantras. Mantras are designed to help you to transcend the mental activity that is constantly keeping you charmed in your opinions and judgments and commentary about the world. So when we put our attention on a word that has no particular meaning, no particular, it doesn't, let's just say, activate the mind, then it allows for that transcendence. So we move into that spacious field of awareness. So what happens with meditation is different than what happens with sleep. Although some of the physiological markers may be the same, your attention is still awake. You're not in a dull state of awareness. Long way of saying that. So with meditation, ideally you meditate twice a day in a perfect world. That's what I try to do. And the second meditation of the day, ideally, is during the happy hour time. Whatever you do when your day is kind of wrapping up from your work day or whatever your avocation is. And then you kind of slough off the stress through a meditation. And then you've got 4 or 5 more hours of your day that you're relaxed and present and you're not carrying the stress with you. So one of the main things that happens with sleep is people meditate too close to bedtime. Now, there are some meditations you can do close to bedtime, like loving kindness practice, Ho'oponopono practice, maybe repeating affirmations, and maybe even doing a prayer that you find soothing. Some people like to do long mantras, like the Gayatri mantra, which refers to an entire song in Sanskrit. Some people like to do the Lord's Prayer. I like to count my blessings. I like to sit and or lie down and just count my blessings, whatever they may be. I don't actually count them. I just put my attention on them, one after another after another. Sometimes I like to lie there and invite people to come into my mind's eye, and each one I pray for, no matter who it is, no matter whether I think they're worthy of it or not. Everyone that shows up in my mind's eye gets a prayer for peace, a prayer for freedom, a prayer for clarity, a prayer for the end of suffering. And those are some of the practices I do if I'm having trouble sleeping. Um, so mantras, though, intend to enliven you. So what does that mean? As the mind settles down and the body settles down, using the mantras I've been teaching you, and we've got another one today that I'm teaching you. As the mind and body settle down, you lose track of all the charm of this relative world, and you dive into this gap, this transcendence. You don't even know you're there until you're out of it. But the thing about it is, there's a lot of, and we talked about this last week, there's a lot of stress release that takes place when the mind and body is at deep rest, whether it's through sleep or through meditation. And as the stress is released, there's movement. Remember, we talked last week about movement of the mind, movement of the body, movement of emotions. It's just a reorganization, I don't know how you call it when you have to reconfigure your hard drive, I don't know if there's a word for it. Although I've been thinking about computers all day, which has not been fun. So in terms of that, when you clear your cache or get rid of all that stuff or defrag your hard drive, that's the word. When you do all that, you actually are opening up the channels of energy and information. I know sometimes after meditation, you might feel rested and relaxed and almost like you want to take a nap. But if you hang out through that, maybe taking your time coming out of meditation, bookending it with something yummy like yoga or chanting or reading a passage in a book or journaling, after that, you will ideally find that you are actually more active because you've gotten rid of the stress that impedes the natural energy in your body. That's what meditation really does. It makes you bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, not necessarily right at the beginning, but as you've been doing it, it will do it later in the day. That's why I say do not meditate too close to bedtime. Do not meditate on a full stomach. So ideally you meditate, before you have your meal at night, before you, whatever you do, watch movies or check the internet or drink a glass of wine. Before all that, you meditate. That's the best time to do it. So mantras that I've been teaching you are going to offer that opportunity to transcend, and transcending actually activates more energy in the body. So I don't know if that helped you. I know some of you have been asking about that. And so that's how I can explain it best. And it takes a long time to understand the difference between checking out in meditation or checking in and then checking out in sleep. Very similar psychophysiological markers, but the attention, the awareness is the game changer. If I say your name while you're meditating and you're transcended, you don't even know what time it is or where your hands are, and I call your name, your attention goes, whoop, what? So you're not checked out. But if I did that while you were sleeping, first of all, it'd be kind of creepy, but also you wouldn't necessarily hear it. I don't hear my husband get up in the morning. He gets up at 4. I don't hear it, luckily. And but I don't hear because I've totally transcended the relative and I'm in a dull state of awareness. Does this make sense? A little bit? So for those of you who have trouble sleeping, try some of the practices we do that activate the mind, that keep the mind a little more engaged in the positive. I also got that question earlier. How can we help people to critically think? Well, I have 2 answers for that. And I'm so grateful I got to work with Byron Katie for a few years there. And she often says, there are three kinds of business. This is going to be very helpful for all of us, I think. The first kind of business is my business, which in your case would be your business. So think about your business. Your business would be who you vote for, what flag you might fly, who you love, what you eat, if you exercise, your opinions, whether you like me or not, whether you like anyone or not. That's all your business. All of your business are all your personal choices, all your preferences. That's all your business, and good for you and good for me. My business also includes the way my body feels and my responses to it. Yours would be the same. But then there's other people's business. And I don't even like to use the word other, but there are other people's business. And what would that entail? What they eat, who they vote for, what news channel they watch, what religion they practice, who they love, how they drive, whether they use their blinker or not, um, how they operate in the world. Okay. I, as a recovering codependent person, and felt like my job was to make everyone feel good about themselves, and I would only feel good if you felt good. As that, my business was often yours. I was always in your business. How are you? How you feeling? Let me change your mind. Maybe I can influence you on what you're eating. Maybe I can tell you, what religion would be best for you, all that stuff. I didn't do all that, but that's getting into someone else's business, isn't it? How they take care of their health, what choices they may make based on a diagnosis, what time they stay up to at night, what they watch on television, how they tend to speak or think about someone else. That's everyone else's business. So your business, other people's business, and guess what the third one is? God's business. Now, if you don't believe in God, you can just say the universal intelligence business, whoever makes the garden grow. That business would include, is it going to rain? Am I going to get sick? Is there going to be a war? How maybe someone lives or dies? And all of sort of the greater stuff we have no control over, but want to control, that would be God's business, right? So where do you spend most of your attentional bandwidth? And you can sometimes figure that out by your languaging. They, them, what they did to me, look what's happening to me. They won't let me, look what they're doing. That would be other people's business, right? And then you can get into God's business. Is this person going to get sober? Is this person going to be kind? Is this person going to let go of their agenda? Whatever it may be. We don't know any of that. That's God's business, So our business is the most important thing, because guess why? It's the only thing you can control is your business. So this has been very helpful for me, because when I'm spending too much time in other people's business, it can be born out of compassion. I'm worried about what they're doing with their health, or who they're voting for, or what they believe. It's born out of compassion and care and concern. But for the most part, it can lead to frustration and anger and resentment. If I'm in someone else's business and they're not changing, think about addicts and people who cause problems, put it that way. Like, I'm thinking about family members right now, but I can't do anything about it, and that's God's business anyway. And so I notice when I'm in someone else's business by how I'm feeling. Now, if I'm in God's business and it's raining again and it just wrecks my whole day. I wish it would rain here. I think it's going to rain on Thursday, but it wrecks my whole day. And, that's me being in God's business going, why this drought? Why this fire? Why this war? And so instead, I get to look at my responses, get back to my own business. What do I have control over? Generally speaking, it's my attitude, it's my responses, it's my level of faith or choosing my values. I mean, that's what I have control over, my integrity, my authentic expression. And so I would say, for those of us interested in other people's critical thinking skills, we probably should work on our own critical thinking skills. I mean, there's nothing else I can do, and everything else is fruitless and causes stress in my nervous system. And to be honest, nobody needs any more stress right now. This is a time when we need to double down I believe, on our spiritual practices. This is a time that I'm doing it. I'm doubling down on my spiritual practices. And so I was talking to I have a spiritual coach that I use and or love to connect with. And so yesterday I was talking about withdrawing from some of my activities that I tend to do without any awareness, like people pleasing or making people feel good about themselves. And so he had me go into a meditation, and I could hear very loudly the voices telling me that I should maybe have seen these patterns earlier, or I should be doing them, or I shouldn't have ever done them, and all this opinion in there. And it ended up, I ended up meeting it with the other thing I'm going to tell you about, which is also from Byron Katie. And we've done a little of this before, and I'm going to stop talking very soon so we can meditate. But it is that, it's that inquiry that meets all thoughts that cause suffering. So a thought that might cause suffering for me is, I should never have been that way. You know, what's wrong with me? These are some of the thoughts I sometimes have. I mean, I meet them almost instantly now with inquiry, but you might have them. Why don't they behave better? You know, why are these people doing this to these other people? Why is this happening? And why, of course, is the wrong question, because it's we're talking about karma, and karma inevitably is impossible to understand. But I would say that the question, you know, or the thought, there's something wrong with me, could be met with inquiry. And what is the inquiry? Is it true? Is it true? Whatever question's causing you suffering about someone else or yourself, is it true? And the answer is probably yes, because you believe it. Second question, can I absolutely know it's true, that there's something wrong with me, or these people should change? What's the reality of it? No, I can't know these people should change. They're not changing. So there you go. And then the third question, I think, is the most revelatory, which is, how do I react when I believe this thought? How do I react when I believe this thought? Whether it's physically, emotionally, maybe I get angry, maybe I make phone calls, maybe I send emails, maybe I march, maybe I get hateful, maybe I think of people and want them dead. You know, how do I react when I believe this thought? And then you get to really explore it. Don't leave yourself. Really explore the ripple effect of your belief. And lastly, who would I be in this moment if I couldn't or didn't believe this thought? This is the experience for me whenever I ask it, and I sometimes skip right to that because it's so painful. That is the question that I ask, and the answer is usually expanded, peaceful, free, loving. So for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about and never heard this before, I'm going to go ahead and put this in the chat. It's Byron Katie. Is the woman that sort of made this inquiry, this particular version, which she calls the work. So 4 questions. She has free programs every week. You can go on her website, and it helps navigate the seemingly impossible experiences that we're having in our lives. It helps us to get to the root cause of things that can be really such a block. For me, my issue was thinking I was somehow unlovable. Something I did that was just totally unlovable. I didn't know what it was, but I assumed that's what it was. But so this is freeing. This is freeing. Okay. Good. Highly recommend it, Sarah. Yes. Free downloads. So good. So important. I was the director of her schools for a few years. I've been to a lot of her schools, and I was the curriculum person. So I've sat up front with her doing all this, which is exactly the medicine I needed. So I have to remind myself occasionally when I'm in other people's business to come right back to my own. How am I doing right here? Never mind how are they doing or what in the heck are they doing. How am I doing right here? So let's meditate. We're going to use a mantra today that is one that you may have heard of, and it's also something that you can chant. For those of you who have particular mantras, whether you've had it through primordial sound meditation or transcendental meditation, Sometimes a new mantra is fun. As you know, some mantras are coordinated with the breath, like Herbert Benson's One, or the one we learned last week, Soham or Hamsa, which is the same mantra inverted. This week, we're going to do one that's also coordinated with the breath, but there's another option, and I'm going to show you. I have a bead here. These are beads. They're called malas, right? You probably have seen or heard about them. One way to do a mantra is by counting each bead. This would take the place of coordinating with your breath. A little bit like a rosary or a worry beads. You just, in this case, I would say the mantra with each bead. And there's something about this that anchors the attention. So usually in one of these, there's 108 beads and or 54 beads, and you do it twice. And then the end bead, you can see is bigger than the others. It's called a guru bead. It doesn't really, you don't have to have one, but that's what they call that. And guru means dispeller of darkness. So for those of you who don't like to coordinate a mantra with the breath, in this case, you can use some beads if you happen to have them, or try this on your own. But this mantra has a meaning that I like to think about, but I generally pay attention to the sound of the mantra itself. So we're going to go over the 5 essentials. Yes, thank you, Roberta. Yes, good. You're going to love her work. She's probably online right now. She does it for a couple hours every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Back to mantras. So this mantra, we're going to put our gentle attention on it, but every time your attention drifts to a story, you come back to the mantra, right? Again, again, again. Do not beat yourself up. There's no need of doing that. Be kind to yourself. Let go of any expectations, because expectations keep you up here on the level of the mind going, is it happening? Is this it? Is this it? And that is going to impede the natural settling down of the nervous system. Don't quit before it's over. We'll do it for about 20 minutes. And lastly, what else? Don't try too hard, right? Let go of expectations, keep a beginner's mind, don't try too hard. For those of you with mantras that you love, you can just go ahead and use those. But this one I do like to use, and we'll end the meditation, of course, with our transition integration period. And then I'm going to invite you to do a short visualization. So all in all, it'll be about 20 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. If you like, sit relatively still. We are going to begin the practice with some long, slow, deep breaths. And then I'm also going to invite an additional inquiry, the one we did last week, but for those of you who missed it. So let's get comfortable. You can close the eyes or let your eyes softly gaze toward the ground or your hands. And ideally, you'll be sitting relatively still. But if you need to scratch an itch or open your eyes or shift your posture, that's perfectly fine. So let's begin with 3 long, slow, deep breaths through the nose at your own pace. Breathing in slowly and deeply, and exhaling slowly and fully. Each exhale, letting go just a little more of any tension you might have. And maybe even spending a little more time at the end of the exhale. Allowing your breath to return to its natural rhythm and depth. Bringing your focused attention to the sensation of breathing. And as you do that, you may notice your breath changing, getting faster or slower, deeper or shallower. Simply let it be as it is. Tuning into the sensations of the inhale, the pause, the exhale, and the pause. Welcoming everything you feel, everything you hear, even everything you think. As you tune into the sensations of breathing. Now begin to tune into the physical sensations of the breath as it enters and leaves your body. Noticing the subtle movements and the not so subtle movements of inhaling and exhaling. The lungs filling and emptying, the chest rising and falling. And drawing your attention now to the center of your chest. Just behind your breastbone, you can tune into the heart center. Whether you feel it or see it or imagine it. You can put your hand there if you care to. And you can silently begin to ask yourself the question, who am I? Who is this one sitting here? Who is asking the question? Ask yourself a couple of times, and then rest in the stillness. And if your hand is over your heart, you can allow it to rest in the lap, letting go of the questions and any answers that might have met it, whether you heard them, felt them, saw them, or knew them. Now we're going to introduce a new mantra. This mantra is Aham Prema. I'll spell it and then tell you its meaning. Aham, A-H-A-M, means I am. Prema, P-R-E-M-A, Prema, means divine love or pure love. So you can either repeat this using a set of beads or Aham on the inhale, Prema as you exhale. Aham Prema. The repetition of this mantra is very gentle and relaxed. There's no need to enunciate it, and you don't even need to think about it. Let your gentle attention rest on the repetition. And anytime your attention drifts away, come right back here and start again. Aham Prema. As you repeat this mantra, there's no particular feeling you need to have, any belief you need to have. Simply and innocently repeat it with the breath, tuning into the sound of the sounds. Whenever you notice you're waiting for something to happen, treat this as you would any other thought. Come back innocently and repeat the mantra again. We'll be meditating like this for a little while, and I'll be keeping track of the time. Aham Prema. Aham Prema. Aham Prema. Keep coming back. You're doing it correctly as long as you're not trying too hard. So keeping your eyes closed, stop repeating the mantra and simply sit in the stillness. And now invite your imagination to imagine a world free from suffering. Imagine a world free from hatred, divisiveness. Imagine having compassion for our brothers and sisters who are lost and suffering. Allow your imagination to imagine the simply or seemingly impossible at this time. Imagine a world where harmony and understanding abound. And giving yourself some deeper breaths as your eyes remain closed. You might silently say to yourself, may all beings in all worlds be free from suffering. May all beings in all worlds know peace. Or whatever prayer you like to invite or invoke. When you feel like you'd like to come out of meditation, although feel free to stay in as long as you want. It's always important to come out slowly. You can do so by stretching into the space around you, putting a smile on your face. Taking a moment to thank yourself for this effort, this ripple effect that you've created of peace in your environment. We're working with invisible realms, transparent realms, but nonetheless very powerful, of peace, serenity, harmony, justice, kindness. We feel the effects. Thank everyone that you're with here on this call. Those of us who we are with you now, or you're listening to this on recording, thank you for being here. So this mantra, Aham Prema, I will put it in the chat. It's a mantra also that there's a couple of songs that have been, they're chanting, that have been recorded, and I'm going to play one now from Deva Premal, and we'll just listen to a little of it. But for those of you looking for a mantra to use to go to sleep, you could use this mantra if you're not using it for meditation, okay? I like to delineate mantra meditation and then mantras just to bring peace. There are certain people that say chant your mantra no matter what you're doing, and that's to help you remember the divine. So this would be a nice one. Aham Prema, I am divine love. So let's listen to a little of this. I actually have to stop the recording, but I will put a link in the chat. In the show notes here for those of you who want to listen to it on your own. Thanks for being here.